Hello, everybody. Pastor Tony at Northside with Timeless Words and Timely Wisdom. This is, it's May 28th, I was told earlier. So May's about gone. We're about to get into summer. But I've got kind of an odd passage of Scripture to use at this time of year because it's one of those passages that we read at Christmas. But it was part of my daily reading. I read a chapter in the Old Testament and the New Testament, and I just kind of keep going, and wherever they end up, they end up. So a couple days ago, I read this. This is a passage out of the book of Matthew, the Gospel of Matthew, and it's the story that we all know that we read at Christmas about the Magi visiting the Messiah in Jerusalem. But I'm just going to read the first 3 verses. It says, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him. When King Herod heard this, he was disturbed, and all Jerusalem with him. So I'm going to stop right there. So King Herod's a familiar character in the Christmas story, maybe because of that right there. But later on, he does some, in that same passage, he's really worried about this king that has come as a threat to his power. But that verse really stuck out to me because when verse 3, when King Herod heard this, when the Magi told him that there was a new king and the star had led them there, it says King Herod heard this and he was disturbed. Now we can understand why he would disturb, but listen to the rest of that verse. And all Jerusalem with him. And I thought, as I read that the other day, God said, does that not seem a little odd to you? Why would we can understand Herod's anxiety, but why would the whole city be anxious over that? And the thing that in that verse that really came out to me is God says, well, first of all, because Jesus really shakes things up. And the other thing is that we don't like things to be shaken up. We all have our routines. We like the way that things are and the status quo. Even if it's not the best situation for us, a lot of times we don't want to mess with having to do something different, to learn something different. And in this case, the people, we know throughout the story of Jesus, there's kind of this Roman presence. The Rome has occupied this part of the country, and so Herod is basically is the right word, a vassal of the Romans, and so but he's still worried about his power in all of this. But the fact that all the people in Jerusalem were stirred up over it, and were they, it's like, well, we don't know if we really like Herod, or we don't really like maybe the Romans, but you know what? We got food to eat. We got a place to live. Whatever may have been going on in their lives, and the prospect of some big shakeup in their lives really probably didn't sit well with them. So that verse really spoke to me because I know that all of us are the same way. We think things are pretty good, and for the most part, probably they are. But dare I say that almost all of us need our lives to be shaken and stirred up just a little bit. I've spoken about how I think that God is stirring us here at Northside. He's bringing us new things. He's getting rid of old things so that the work of Jesus can be magnified and done here. And sometimes that's uncomfortable for us. We like our old ways of doing things, and that's even true in the church because we get too attached to our human ideas and our human ways of doing things. God doesn't let us get away with that. God didn't let Herod get away with being this kind of tyrannical uh, overlord of Jerusalem. And so, my thought for you today is simply, um, where might God be shaking up your life today? Because He probably is, if you'll just think about Him a little bit, and it will be for your good, just as we see God stirring and shaking us here, and it's for our good. We see the benefits, and we see God. We see Jesus more and more in everything we do here. So bringing new people, new programs, new friends, new opportunities for ministry to serve Jesus here at Northside. So think about that today, if you would, and I hope that maybe speaks to you. Are you disturbed about what God's doing in your life? Take some time to pray and say, God, reveal to me where you're taking me. So, hope you guys can find something in that word yourselves. Go read all of chapter 2 of Matthew and see what God has to say for you today. Have a good week. Come see us at Northside, where Jesus is easily found.